Welcome back to the Ultras on TS. I'm Josh Piercy, joined as always by the lovely gentlemen Jeff Wall and Kurt Black. Kind of a subdued weekend in the Premier League in terms of how many goals we've seen. We're so used to seeing these big blowout games. Not much of that this weekend. Still plenty of storylines to talk about as the league shapes up after match week number 6. We've got some news from the Bundesliga, as one of the league's biggest giants throughout history started off their season pretty poorly, as well as news from Italy. But we start in the biggest game of them all, El Classico, the classic game in Spain. So, gentlemen, of course, a 3-1 win for Real Madrid over Barcelona. Kind of what we expected, but it's the first time that Madrid has beaten the Catalonians 2 games in a row since 07-08. Kurt, what did you see from Barcelona in that game that really was their downfall?
They were just, we all expected a physical match in El Clasico, and it's always been kind of the thread that Barcelona is a smaller, of course, more skillful squad. And truthfully, it was really Ansu Fati and Leo Messi were the only ones really putting in the work. And they just got pushed around and out-muscled, and Casemiro and Ramos were not easy on either of them. And it was a real turn of face for Real Madrid. They had a horrible, Champions League debut against Shakhtar, and they needed to redeem themselves. And other than, I think it was a much closer game than the score shows. I think Neto played very well for Barcelona, and there was a pretty weak goal at the end that really separates this. I don't know how you guys feel, but I think it was closer, but Barcelona is in a tough place right now.
Jeff, what do you think? Was it, like Kurt said, was it a close game in spite of the storyline, or do you think Barca and Ronald Koeman have a long way to go?
I actually do think it's a bit of both. I do think that the game was, for the most part, pretty close. There were things, once again, with Barcelona. They are just so vulnerable on the counter. And their defense, especially that last goal, was just like as sure a sign as any is that this defense, this whole team needs to be really gutted. It needs to be gutted. I mean, obviously, we can't put it all on the defenders. You can't put it all on the goalkeepers. There has to be some pressing. There has to be some ability to kind of slow down the counterattack. And Barcelona certainly haven't shown that either. I think it's going to be a very big uphill battle. It seems like Messi is really struggling there. It seems like it's just every game is just, it's taken a year off his life almost, it seems. Ansu Fati is obviously pretty good, but they're going to need a lot of help, and they're going to need to do a lot more to get, claw their way back to the top at least.
Well, Kurt, Jeff was talking about gutting the squad. Of course, Ronald Koeman, the manager now this year, he wasn't given nothing. Barcelona is a decent squad. What do you think he can do to maximize, get the most out of the guys that he has working for him?
Well, he does have to look at the back line, because so far it has really let the whole side down. Because when you look at this team on paper, they're pretty good. Their their midfield is quite strong, even though Busquets is, at the end of his really fantastic career. But you have Pjanic, who you just got from Juve, who's a great orchestrator and defensive midfielder. And then you have the young De Jong, who's supposed to step in and be this connection from the midfield to Leo and Ansu Fati in the offensive line. But the defense, I have no answers for it. They're going to have to look at the transfer window. Too often in the past few years, they've preferred to get that splashy, expensive attacker, and they've kind of neglected the back line. And it's showing this year, and it's a shame because it's likely Messi's final year at the Camp Nou.
Well, Jeff, of course, Barcelona now sitting in the bottom half of the table. If things keep going this way, how long do you expect Ronald Koeman to keep his job in Barcelona?
I think in a very odd year, a very transitional year, with COVID, obviously, it's going to be tough to see, would sacking Koeman make a difference for, like, President Bartomeu? Like, if he's the guy that's pulling the strings, what incentive does he really have? I'm sure that he would. Honestly, I do think he would, because if Barcelona is headed towards more relegation and, it's looking like it's going to be a tough fight, then, I'm sure that they would.
Well, El Clasico is always very telling of what side is going in the right direction and what side is not. Clearly, Barcelona have some work to do. So let's move over to Italy, where another big team had another sort of disappointing result this weekend, and it's 2 weeks in a row now for Juventus, drawing in the Serie A today against Hellas Verona 1-1. We all know him. We all love him. Kurt Black, he has a lot to say about Juventus, and I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say about what was probably a pretty disappointing game for him. So, Kurt, go ahead.
Yeah, it was a disappointing result. Verona's not a bad club. I'm probably going to sound like someone just defending their side. Verona's in the top 10 of Serie A. I know it's early. And Juve, when you look at the numbers, they dominate possession. They dominated shots again. It's just that finishing aspect. They trailed in this game. 60 minutes in, they were down 1-0. And it wasn't until Kulefsi got another goal. I'm telling you, Josh, I know you aren't on the young Swedes bandwagon yet, but I'm telling you, he's brilliant. Anyway, if it wasn't for that, they lose this game. And if you look at their results already this year, one of those wins they earned. The other one, Napoli decided to just stay at home. So it's been a up and down beginning to the Serie A campaign for Juve, but at the Champions League level, even though Dynamo Kiev is no big threat, they really performed well. Morata looks like a new man back at Juventus, and that I'm very thrilled to see that, and I kind of predicted it. But, they need some work, but again, I have faith.
Yeah, Jeff, do you think it's as easy as that for Juventus, that their team is going to come together, or do you think there actually are some red flags here being shown at the start of this season?
There's definitely some red flags, I think, for sure. It just seems like they can't finish off a game. And even in Serie A, I think, for people who just watch the Champions League, you think, oh, Juventus is just that team that's just, they're tough defensively and they're good on the counter and they're just a very nice clinical tactical team. But they're a lot more than that. And in Serie A, they always tend to show that they always tend to have that finishing touch and, maybe a little bit more defensive solidity, to be completely honest with you, than what they've shown recently. I don't like it. It doesn't look very good. But, man, you just can't count them out at this point. I do predict that they will at least come back to push whoever it is that's going to be alongside them.
Well, Jeff.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead there, Kurt.
Well, they are missing Cristiano Ronaldo, who is a guy that gets the goal in the key moments. And we saw how big that was this weekend in Serie A because Inter had Lukaku, who made a massive difference. He had scored a beautiful goal. And same with Lazio. Both of these teams got 1-goal wins, and it was their big striker and their number one guy getting a huge goal to lead them to victory.
Fair enough. Well, a couple teams that will be really excited by Juventus' recent downturn in form are two of some of the most historic teams in the Serie A that haven't done so well in the last 10 years. AC Milan and Napoli both earning wins as well. Jeff, I got to ask you, AC Milan, they look really good. They're undefeated in over 20 games now. Pioli seems to really have a handle on what's going on in Milan. Do you think they're the real deal?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly do. I think for the first time in however long it's been, it seems like it's been forever, Milan actually look like they have like a cohesive team that believes in what they're doing. And Ibrahimovic is just, oh my God, man, you can't say that about the guy. I mean, he's unbelievable. He may be pushing for, I think, what is it now, his 34th trophy. He's just amazing. We've seen what he can do for a bit younger size. I mean, even over, I know it's the MLS, but LA Galaxy, we already saw what he could do over there. We've seen what he did with Manchester United. I think he actually put in a really good mentality in a squad. And for AC Milan, a side that's been, chopped and changed so much, that's the kind of guy you need to bring in to kind of solidify things. And I do think that they can be, a strong, contender in this title race.
Do you agree with what Jeff is saying there, Kurt? Do you think AC are finally on their way up to maybe top 3 finish again this season?
Well, it's always said that Father Time is undefeated, but you know what? I don't think Father Time has ever wrestled with Ibrahimovic. It's true. What Jeff said about him changing the mindset and the winning personality of a side is completely true. We've seen it everywhere he goes. He just doesn't accept inferiority. And he's really leading a young squad. AC Milan's the youngest squad in Serie A. Other than him, he's literally a dinosaur walking out there just scoring a brace every week. And he's leading this young squad that all these players clearly look up to him. And, there's a culture there. I think, I was a little questionable about them last week, but they're impressive right now.
Well, speaking of looking up to him, earlier today, Napoli ran out 2-1 winners against Benevento. Roberto Insigne scored, as well as his older brother, Lorenzo Insigne, where Napoli won on the day. Napoli's only defeat this year came to Juventus in that game where they had to concede due to the COVID-19 thing we were talking about a little earlier. Jeff, Napoli, I mean, they've kind of had an up and down last few years. This certainly looks like another up year for them.
Yeah, they look amazing. And this was the last coach of AC Milan, Gattuso, doing amazing stuff there with Napoli, and they look amazing. I mean, they've beaten Atalanta already. I mean, I would be kind of scared to think of what they might have done to Juventus given their current form and what they've been able to do so far. They've been absolutely dominant, and we can't take it away from them. They look great. They look sound. I mean, I want to see them face a few tougher opponents, but they look really good. As good as AC, it's tough. It's tough. I think, even looking at the stats, expected goals wise, AC looks just that much better. I would have to give the nod to them, but Napoli definitely not a team to be messed with.
Yeah, Napoli will actually face AC on November 22nd, so that's a game to put down on your calendar. Let's move over to Germany then, where the Riviera Derby between Dortmund and Schalke happened over the weekend. 3-0 win for Dortmund. Unsurprisingly, Schalke have been in the Bundesliga now, since 1991-92. Historically, they're one of the giants of the division, but they have a negative 17 goal difference already this season, the worst in the Bundesliga. They've been teetering on falling down into the Bundesliga 2 for a few seasons now. Jeff, this certainly looks like the year that truth will actually happen.
Yeah, and I think German teams, when they go down, I mean, there's less of a big disparity, obviously, because of the 50 plus 1 rule. But I also think in this case, when you have a pandemic and there's no fans in the stands, and Bundesliga fans, stadiums can almost guarantee that those stadiums, those seats to be filled. Especially Schalke, absolutely 100%. They have the most fierce fans in the entire world, and they've always been pushing a team like Dortmund, who they lost now 3-0 to this weekend. And it's just a shame because, prior to the Bundesliga, actually, they had pretty much been the most dominant side in German history. They were amazing, and now to see them fall like the way that they have has just been so sad. And even the rivalries with Dortmund, even when their team has never looked good in the past couple of years, they've been keeping up with them and putting in great work. But it really does look like they'll be going down, and I hate to say it, but it doesn't look like they'll be coming back up anytime soon either.
And I think it'll be shocking to see the Veltins Arena have to host games in the Bundesliga too. Like Jeff said, Kurt, they're one of the biggest clubs in the Bundesliga of all time. I mean, is there any chance that they maintain and they can keep up this year? Or do you think they've been teetering on the brink now for so long, it'd be better for them to just go on down?
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, it's not looking good for them. And if you look back at last season, the last half of the year, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they've actually won a game in the Bundesliga since like January or February. It's been quite a long stretch. And they're an example of a side that, Schalke's been known over at least like the last couple decades as a team that just generates stars. And unfortunately, they're a middle-of-the-side squad at best, and they have gotten up into the top 5 when they're really good, but those players have ambitions of playing at the top side, so they leave. And most times, unfortunately, to add to the blunder, they leave for free. We saw Goretzka leave for free to Bayern Munich, and now he's winning the title there, and he's winning a treble. It's happened many times. They lost their starting keeper, the replacement to Neuer, who they also lost to Bayern Munich. So it's just a vicious circle, and I don't see any future other than them being relegated, unfortunately. They are a famous and historic squad, but it's a shame.
All right, then, gentlemen, let's head over to the Premier League. I think we've put it off long enough. Usually we start on the Premier League, but this week there's so much good action happening around the world. Kind of a subdued week. It was a little bit of a slower week. You can see these games really starting to pile up on these guys. But we're 6 games in now for most sides, only a few left to play tomorrow. And the Premier League table is starting to shape up, but it's shaping up in a really unexpected way. Of course, we see Everton at the top of the table. So in your guys' professional opinions, I want to find out today, who's the contenders, who's the pretenders, where do we see the fact, where do we see the fiction among these teams who are flying or riding the bottom of the table right now? So let's start with Everton, the league leaders. Jeff, is this fact or fiction from Carlo Ancelotti's men?
I think it is about as much fact as you could possibly get. I don't know that. Are they going to stay there at the very top? I don't even think that they'll do that. I think it's such a long road. They look so impressive. I think I could even maybe see them pushing, for that second place spot. I really do. But man, even without Van Dijk, Liverpool is just so good. I know we talked about it last week, but Liverpool is just amazing. They're just amazing, and I can't take that much away from them. I can't say that Mo Salah isn't going to keep scoring goals. He's been incredible. So no, I don't think that they will stay at the top though.
So Kurt, we've seen today, it's impossible to talk about Everton without today talking about their 2-0 loss to Ralph Hasenhüttl's men in Southampton. Is this a big red flag for Carlo Ancelotti, or is it a flash in the pan and those guys are the real deal?
I don't know. It's early to see. The one league that I'm honestly up in the air with is the Premier League, because there's so many squads that we wouldn't expect actually being here. Like Southampton's at 6, Leeds is at 5. And then you have Aston Villa led by Jack Grealish, literally carrying that team on his back. They're a 3rd. I think Liverpool's actually in more danger than Jeff talks about. It's not just Van Dijk. It's Alisson.
Well, let's talk about Everton.
Now Matip.
Are Everton fact or fiction for you?
I think they're more fact. It's not a huge discrepancy. Maybe it's 60-40. I'm thinking fact over fiction, just because I believe in Ancelotti, and I think it's more than just the golden boy Calvin Lewin. It's James Rodriguez finally leading a team again. This is his squad, and I think that's an opportunity that really excites him, and it's pushing him forward.
All right, so I expect a little bit less confidence from my next question. Aston Villa, of course, suffered their first loss of the season to Leeds yesterday. They're now 4-0-1 on the season, and they've looked excellent, highlighted by that 7-2 victory over Liverpool. Jeff, Aston Villa, Dean Smith's men, fact or fiction?
I'm going fiction. Jack Grealish is really doing a great job. He is carrying this Aston Villa squad as he usually does. I think he's the most foul player actually in the Premier League. People just have no other way to stop him. He's an incredible talent. But one incredible talent is not going to keep you up afloat that long. And especially if he's being fouled a lot, we don't know, man. You could get injured a few games, and that might be all it takes for another team to kind of usurp you. So I got to go with fiction.
They have also made a couple other signings in key areas. We've seen the signing of Ross Barkley really starting to give Jack Grealish the sort of freedom that he's been missing in the last few years. Emiliano Martinez might be one of the best goalkeepers outside of the top 6. Kurt, Aston Villa, fact or fiction?
Fact, but not a top 3 side. Can they be a top 10 side and still be a fact?
Yeah,
because we saw Sheffield United have a really inspired season last year, and they had Henderson as their keeper, who was fantastic. And as you were just saying, they do have a good, solid squad around them. And don't forget about Ollie Watkins, man. He was a big contributor in that 7-2 win as well. So this might be the final year of Jack Grealish, David Beckham's forgotten love child. I swear to God, that's David Beckham's boy. From one night in Manchester. Anyway, that's all I'll say.
All right, well, let's talk about Sheffield United then. We don't only have to talk about the player or the teams on top. The Blades are sitting in second last. They haven't yet to win this season. This is surprising from a team that finished in the top 10 last year after only coming up from the championship. Jeff, they didn't really make any signings. They only lost players over the summer. How worried should Sheffield United fans be? Is this start to the season, this horrible start to the season, fact or fiction?
I think it's fact. I didn't want to believe it either, but after this we've seen enough, I think, that they just won't be able to escape the bottom. There are too many teams down there that are a little too consistent. I think Burnley, I don't think they're going to be staying down there much longer either. And I just think that their inability to score goals is really, really going to hurt them. And I think it's going to continue to.
All right, Kurt, we got time for one more. Leeds United, Marcelo Bielsa's side. They've had an excellent start to the season. It's kind of a trend now. The teams come up. One of them ends up doing really well. This year it's Leeds. Do you see them as real contenders this season, or have they just had a really good start and they'll fizzle out?
Well, I'm kind of second guessing myself because, on a test when you go true on a few in a row and you're like, oh my God, this habit, something's wrong. But anyway, I'm going to go fact again because, in Bielsa, I trust. Even when he's crouching down, he's always crouching. How is his knees? How old is that lad? He's always crouching. I guess this team stresses him out, or that's just how he watches football. But whatever he's telling those lads, it's working. And we've spoken about it in past weeks about how much they spent in the offseason. This isn't your normal just promoted squad. This is a squad that was built to have success right off the hop. And I know it's early, but they've really, really impressed me so far.
Jeff, how much of their run goes down to Marcelo Bielsa's coaching style? Of course, Kurt talked about spending money when you come up to the Premier League, but we've seen that from Fulham 2 years ago, and it didn't work out at all. Is Marcelo Bielsa a master coach?
Oh, there's absolutely no question. He is a master coach. There has never been any doubt in my mind that he is one of the greatest managers of all time, especially never really win any big-time trophy. I don't even think he won any at Newell's Old Boys down in Argentina. But, man, he's incredible. He's been highly regarded throughout the entire world of any manager you can talk to. Mauricio Pochettino, Pep Guardiola, they all love him. And, honestly, I would love to see what they would even do with even as good a manager as like a Pochettino. I really don't think that they would be this good.
Yeah, he's so much better than Sarri.
Of course, Kurt has to get his sorry dig in once per episode. Well, gentlemen, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today here on the Ultras on TS. If you like our opinions, want to hear more about us, follow us on Instagram as well as True Sports TV on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. For Jeff Wall and Kurt Black, I'm Josh Piercy. We'll see you next time on the Ultras on TS.